Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 28. As the Lions head into their series decider with the All Blacks, we react to the news that there'll be no change to the matchday 23, and if that's the answer. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, episode 28. It's our second sort of announcement reaction episode. Not a huge amount to react to this week. No changes, but we're going to do our best. We're going to talk about what we think, if there's anything that we would have changed ourselves, and just how we think this is likely to pan out and what have you. I'm joined, of course, by Dan. Hello, mate.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really. I know we seem to say this every week after the little introductions, but I'm really excited about this weekend. I think last weekend has just turned this into, I think what was going to be a really kind of forgettable tour. It's suddenly one result, that possibly was a little bit against the run of play. One result has turned this whole tour on its head, and now it's an exciting one.
Oh, it's made it epic, hasn't it? It's absolutely of course it is, but it's a complete game changer. Like you say, up to that point, the tour just hadn't been, I think we'd said it a few times, and this is just our opinions, obviously, but it just hadn't, it just seemed to be lacking something, but now it's all there. This is a full-on proper Lions tour and a proper test match. I mean, if they win, it will just be a gigantic effort to do that, bearing in mind how little time they've got together, the quality of opposition. And yeah, I mean, like we say, so probably worth getting onto that. Have we picked the team to do that? Well, yes, the team can do that because that team did do it last week. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you reckon?
Oh, it's really difficult because there are decisions that have been made that I've been moaning about for weeks, or not weeks, but certainly for the last couple of weeks on Twitter, and I've been having various debates with people about, should this guy play and should it have been this one or that one and what have you. And although, and I'll come on to those players now in a moment, but and although he's gone with the same team, part of me kind of feels okay about it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, look, let's not beat around the bush. I'm talking about Alan Wynne-Jones, of course.
Sure.
And part of me feels like Henderson needed to have a shout, but who else do you put him in for? Part of me feels like Laws offers something that Alan Wynne-Jones doesn't, and therefore you need him giving more than 20 minutes at the end. But, Alan Wynne-Jones, to be fair, despite his critics, sort of stepped up last week. I wouldn't say he was, player of the match or had his best game ever, by any stretch. But he certainly didn't do himself a disjustice. And I don't know. Now I'm kind of questioning my own thoughts on him now.
Yeah, I mean, so my two areas where I potentially would have looked for change would have been maybe front row and second row. But Alan Wynne, like I say, had a good game. I'm with you. I'm not that annoyed he's playing. I don't think he should have necessarily been selected as a test starter from the beginning. But now he has. I do have a sense of comfort that he's been out there twice to face them. I think that just does add a slight advantage. And Courtney Laws definitely will come on. And Courtney Laws definitely will
absolutely
make an impact one way or another.
I guess the thing to bear in mind here is that Courtney Laws is an impact player. He can come on and make a difference. Alan Wynne-Jones is not an impact player, so if you're not starting him, you shouldn't really be playing him in the 23. So the only place, in my opinion, that Alan Wynne-Jones plays in this game is if he starts. Is he the right man to start? I don't know, but he's starting, so it is what it is. And as I say, it's last week I was fuming about it, and I just thought it was the biggest error. This week, I don't know. I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with changing my mind in 7 days as well. So there you go. And look, we're the England Rugby Pod. We're all about English players. We've been accused of bias. We probably are biased most of the time. But like you, I think I would have taken Mako and put him on the bench and given McGrath the start.
Well, yeah, I was going to say for the first time it won't be biased. So I think with Mako, his penalty count was quite high last week, a bit too high, and him getting sin bin could have cost us. So I potentially would have looked at McGrath starting, but Mako is a great player. I mean, I don't think Maratoje had his best game last week, but I definitely would have played him. And I think I'm willing to give Mako that sort of level of respect as well, because although he made some mistakes last week, that's not him generally. And of course, there is the English bias here.
Yeah, but I think also when the entire stadium is singing, joined, by the way, by Alan Wynne-Jones and a number of the other Lions players singing "Oh Maro Itoje" at the top of their voices at the end of the game, that is, you're not allowed to drop a player that has a song sung about them at the end of a win like that when everyone is singing it. So
fair enough.
So whether you thought he had his best game or not, it was irrelevant. It was a moot point because he was already selected on the basis that
he's got his own album coming out. Yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. Maro Itoje for me definitely starts. Like you say, it wasn't his best game, but I think that's kind of one of the things about him that's so incredible is that a not particularly great game from him is still a great game. I haven't got his stats to hand, but I when I went through the stats, his tackle count was higher than most others. His turnovers were better than the other guys in the second row, and penalty counts. I think he gave away one penalty where Alan Wynne didn't give away any, or maybe he gave away or maybe they gave away one each. I can't remember exactly what it was, but certainly the runs that he made, the ground that he made, everything was higher. And actually, this Courtney Laws admitted it was the last 20 minutes and teams tire, although the All Blacks notoriously are stronger in the last 20 than any other point in the game. But Courtney Laws' stats were pretty similar to Alan Wynne-Jones's, and obviously Alan Wynne had 60 minutes and Courtney had 20.
Yeah, Courtney put himself about, and I think they'll do that again. I think they'll bring on Courtney to add that impact, keep the New Zealand pack true. So actually, one of the things we haven't mentioned, but it's probably the most interesting bit, is the New Zealand team. So they've obviously brought back in Surveyor on the wing, who's dangerous for Ione.
Geordie Barrett at the back.
Geordie Barrett at fullback, which is, I think, sort of these changes, some obviously due to Sonny Bill Williams, some due to injury, but the New Zealand team is dangerous. Julian Surveyor is very dangerous. So we need to be wary of that. I'm sure we are.
Who's their kicker? Will it be Geordie? I think he might.
They'll stick with Bowden Barrett, I would have thought.
Do you think? Well, you missed
I
7?
think so.
Missed 6?
No, he missed 3, I think.
Missed 9?
I think 12. But yeah, I think they'll
lot.
stick with him. And I can't imagine him. I
But
imagine him.
I hope he does. A better kicker.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah. So I think there's a big thing at the moment about do you switch it over if you're. I think that's the one place where his brother excels over him. Geordie is the better kicker, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
It's a massive. Bearing in mind Wayne Smith, as the All Blacks call him, the professor, has said this match in some ways is bigger than the World Cup. It's a big ask for someone on their first full cap to take over kicking duties.
True.
So I'd imagine they'll stick with Bowden Barrett for that. I hope, looking at our team, and I think they have. I hope we run. I hope we keep ball in hand a lot more, because New Zealand are so good at retaining that us kicking to them all the time was so infuriating at times, because then you're just defending for ages, because New Zealand are so strong at retaining that ball. So I hope we do run a bit more.
And
we saw with the damage.
I was going to say that more so than the sort of the frustration of giving the ball away and then defending. When we do run, we look dangerous.
Yeah.
In both games. I mean, yes, there were a lot of handling errors in the first game. Those need to be sorted out. It felt like they'd been sorted out in the second game. But yeah, look, we scored our first try when it was 14 men apiece. We scored it in open play. When we kick the ball away, it feels a little bit like we're out of control. Or they work really hard to turn the ball over and then immediately give it away. we're not competitive enough in the air, and I don't know if that's just that the Kiwis are just too good at defending the aerial ball, or if the kickers just aren't quite firing. But the kicking game isn't working. It can, if you get it right, it can definitely work. It obviously did for Ireland when they beat New Zealand last year. Was it last year? It was last year.
In Chicago, yeah.
But yeah, it's not worked for the Lions so far, and I think they have to seriously think about that. And look, if you're going to play the kicking game, then maybe kick territory, as in stick it in touch, rather than and compete the line out, rather than sticking it down their throat and then going, let's see what you can do, because inevitably at some point the All Blacks are going to go, there you go, that's what we can do, and it's going to be 7 points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I like the look of us with ball in hand, like you say. I think we look good. I think Liam Williams has had a really good tour. I think he looks dangerous. He looks like he should be playing hockey or cricket.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He doesn't look to be built like a rugby player, but
but he's been brilliant. I'm not sort of criticizing him. I think he's done. Great, and he's dangerous. And Anthony Watson is definitely dangerous, and so is sort of Elliot Daly. Sexton Farrell is working, and I think is only going to get better.
I agree. I think that's we did have question marks. We talked about Tio, but Tio does a job from an impact position coming off the bench. If he does, of course, he didn't last week because it was working. So whether we see him this week, remains to be seen. But you're right. It seemed to work having the two playmakers, and it's weirdly the kind of the Johnny Sexton go-to move of the loop that I think the rest of the professional rugby world last did at school works. Yeah. It just works, with Farrell as the inside man on that, it almost works better because Farrell has the ability to then make it work. So actually, it does I quite like it actually at the moment. They need to just be ready to adapt, don't they? If it's working, great. If it's not, have a game, have the right game plan to adapt. Because sometimes I think the one downside to Sexton Farrell is they both play very flat at the moment, and that can result in Farrell getting the ball in contact almost, and the move breaks down, or a wild pass being thrown, which if it goes to hand looks amazing, but is a sort of almost like a 50-50 because he's got so little time to get the ball away that you just don't know. And there was a couple of occasions when 2 or 3 passes went like that, and they all went to hand, and it looked like they just done this incredible move. But you think that really is inches, isn't it? All Blacks an inch further forward, and that's an interception. Whether that's a knock on or an interception, run the pitch, but you have to be so careful, and it's he who dares, isn't it? Because you've got to take these chances. I get that, but but balance them.
What's going to be interesting is, I wonder if we're going to look to attack the 12 channel more. So obviously the guy coming for Sonny Bill Williams, I think it's Lau Mape or something. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I don't know enough about him. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. So it's just whether are we going to try and attack that channel now as he's a new guy coming, or quite frankly, last week, like you say, when we went wide, we looked pretty dangerous. So
I think if the game
I
plan,
hope we do more of that.
Yeah, I think if the game plan was to attack the 12 channel, we'd be seeing Ben Teo.
Yeah,
I think maybe that is the game plan for the last 20-25. If they feel they need to do that, and I guess a lot will also depend on how he goes. The new guy. I can't imagine that he'll have a bad game. Not too many Kiwis do, but if he looks to be struggling, they may well make the decision to change things up early on, because I don't think Sexton and Farrell are the two guys you want attacking the 12 channel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So right, let's get to it. How much of a backlash is there going to be, and what do you think the scores are going to be?
For your comment, or a backlash for the winning last weekend?
Yeah, how much do you think they're so their pride's dented. Their pride is definitely dented. They do not like losing, and they hate losing in New Zealand. They're going to come out and want to play some rugby, and they're going to want to come out and really put a marker down to reassert themselves as top dogs. So what do you reckon? How do you reckon it's going to go?
Okay, so firstly, I would say you're absolutely right. Their pride is dented, and they're going to want to come out and they're going to want to rectify the problem. I would say two things. Firstly, the All Blacks notoriously struggle when they're under pressure. They're rarely under pressure, which is why I think we rarely see them struggle. But in not my experience, because I've never played them, but in my experience of watching them,
you haven't. Oh, okay.
No, I was injured that day. In my experience of watching them, they struggle if you can put them under pressure early. So I think the first thing to bear in mind is that they're under huge pressure. This is a home tour. If something goes wrong, if they lose this game, it will never be forgotten. It's not a one-off game. The Lions
by us or them
and lost. So the pressure is massive for them. The Lions have got a bit more experience losing, so I almost feel like the pressure on them is, and they're the underdogs, so the pressure on them is slightly less in that respect. That's not to say they don't want to win, of course. So I would say that plays into the Lions' favour a little bit, and I think if the Kiwis get it right, of course they're going to be dangerous, and it's going to be tough. But it definitely opens the door for them to make mistakes, and I think if you've got your Sextons and your Farrells and people firing. Your Warburtons slowing them down and making it difficult. Your Alan Wynne-Jones is helping with that. Your Mako's not giving away 12 penalties. I think the Lions have got a great shout. I look, we're obviously always going to be a little bit biased. I always have belief. I genuinely believe the Lions are going to do it. It's going to be a hell of a game and it's going to be close. All the people saying it's going to be a runaway, I don't believe that. I think if the All Blacks were going to run away with it, they'd have already done it by now. And they haven't shown any signs of doing that. So I don't believe that will happen. I think it will be close again. But I think the Lions will do it. I think the pressure will just get a bit too much for the All Blacks, who aren't used to it and who aren't used to having their own fans kind of breathing down their necks about how they're getting on. They're always the heroes. So It'll be very interesting. I don't think it's as straightforward as to say they're really angry. Watch out, Lions! They're coming for you, because I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think so. So, and I think this is probably sort of heart talking more than head, but I do think the Lions will nick it. But like you say, I don't like people are, and I've heard a lot of crap about people saying, "Oh, the All Blacks run away with it." I genuinely just think the Lions are too good for the All Blacks to do that. Regardless, take away the situation, take away the sort of implications of a winning thing. I just think as players, the Lions are too good for the All Blacks to just dominate them that much. So I think it will be close, and I think the Lions will nick it. I really do.
Elliot Daly with a 56-metre penalty in the 82nd minute.
That would be epic.
I'd like to win by more than that, but maybe a try. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so final question for you then: which Lions player, would you want to have the game of his life to turn the tables, to turn this in the Lions' favour? And do you know what I mean? Like, which is the one player that you think, if he has the game of his life, that could be the difference?
Okay, so this is massively controversial, especially as we're the England Rugby Pod. I think if Faletau has the game of his life, it will make the difference, purely because I think that will start giving us a lot of go forward ball, and then when we move it wide, we've seen how dangerous our backs can look. And if we're doing that with strong go forward ball and the New Zealand defence scrambling, I think we could open them up. So for me, I would probably say Faletau, or the other person might be an Anthony Watson. I think if Anthony Watson, when he starts running and doing those snaking runs, he can really put some holes in the defences.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to go Mako, because I think Mako having the game of his life, whether or not the game of his life is good enough, but we're going to assume that it is. Mako has the game of his life. He answers all his critics. He doesn't give away any penalties. He absolutely beasts the scrum. The Lions dominate the scrum and win a load of scrum penalties and put the All Blacks on the back foot. And I think the backs have shown in the last two tests that they already have the kind of the skill level to attack the line when they get quick ball. And Mako in the scrum, that's going to be the difference. He's the one that's going to be
just crushing their front row.
Yeah, like that World Cup semi-final, I think it was, against Australia.
2007. I remember it, where Sheridan just ripped apart. Yeah.
Single-handedly ate the Australian scrum, and as a result, they had nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I think. He has to have the game. I mean, the front row has to have the game of their lives, but Jamie George has been playing brilliantly anyway. Haven't got a huge number of complaints about Furlong. Mako, obviously, we know that he's great. Wasn't the best game last weekend. Needs to sort a few bits out. But if he does it, we know that he can do some pretty impressive things, and he can give us that go forward as well. So he's the guy that I think needs to have it. Fair
enough. But yeah, I mean, Saturday's just I don't really know what I feel like I should be doing more towards it, but I don't know what. Like, I feel like I should mentally be doing more preparation just for myself, for my insanity. But I don't know what. It's going to be an absolute blinder. And obviously we'll be sort of doing our usual sort of half-time and full-time analysis. And my emotions at full-time are probably going to be pretty spiked. So if I'm talking absolute crap, I apologise. But
What's that? I think I heard someone say that's all right. That's what they used to.
Oh, good, fine. So the expectations are low, so we're all right. Don't worry about
it. Perfect. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. As always, get in touch with us. Plenty of chat on Twitter at the moment, at England Rugby Pod. Join the conversation. It'd be great. Also, iTunes, please rate us, review us. It's the thing that's going to help us drive this out to a wider audience, and that's what we're trying to do. So we'd really appreciate your support on that front. And check out the website, www.englandrugbypod.com. Take care, guys.